What's going on, you guys? Your boy Devvon, the Living Weirdo, and in this next video, part 5 of this mix and master series, I'm going to show you how I like to EQ and pretty much blend my instruments, which for this particular one, my instruments are synth sounds. So this is how I like to blend and EQ and just pretty much clean up my synth sounds to fit in the mix. Okay, so let's just get right to it. So the first one I'm gonna make you listen to is this sound right here. It's a synth sound. It's more of an ambient synth sound. So I'm gonna show you how I like to attack these. So listen to it by itself without anything on it. Cool, so you get the gist of what the sound is. First thing that I wanna do is I want to roll off some of that low end, which you can see right here with the EQ basic, rolling off about 131 hertz initially just to start. Before and after, I'll show you. So before. Cool. So you hear that. So basically that is me rolling off a little bit of that low end because I don't want it to compete with my kick and my bass, which are in the bottom. So that's basically what we're doing now. We're mixing with all of those things in mind that, hey, we boosted, we've arranged, we've done so much to this low end. Now we want to make sure that we don't create things that compete with those things. And that's it. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is we're going to widen this ambient sound. When it comes to ambient sounds, I like them to be a little bit wider. I like them to feel a little bit more spacious. I like them to dance. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this S1 imager from Waves to it. You can use any stereo widening plugin to do this, but I particularly like this S1 imager. So I'm gonna do before and after. Before. Simple, just gives it a little bit of space, just widens the actual sound just a tad bit, and I like it. Just gives it a little bit more space. Okay, cool. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add this tape saturation plugin. And why I like the tape saturation plugin is because it's gonna knock off a little bit of that edge of that sound, and it's also gonna warm it up a little bit. I like it because it's gonna add a little bit of a grit to the sound. So I'll let you hear before and after. I'm using a setting that says fat, tight, and open. I usually, with the tape saturation plugins, I go along with the presets, may tweak a bit, but for the most part, I like this preset a lot with this plugin. You can use any tape saturation plugin to taste, but for this particular one, I like this one. So before and after. Before. So you can hear it. It really adds a bit of a grit to the sound. It sounds like an old tape, and that's what I wanted out of that. I like that old tape because the old tape with a little bit of that distortion and grit makes it sound even creepier. So it gives me more of that vibe. And that's the mindset you got to look at when you're mixing, guys, is you got to listen to certain sounds and how they feel in the mix and think, what is that sound accomplishing within that mix? So that's what I did with that one. Moving on. Okay, next thing I did was I added another step of subtractive EQing, and basically I rolled off a ton of low end off of this particular sound because why? I don't want it to compete with my kick and my bass, aka my 808. So I rolled off a lot at 640. I'm going to show you before and after. Before. Huge difference, night and day. Rolled off a bunch of that low end, and now I guarantee you my kick and my bass are gonna sit better with this particular instrument. Love that. Okay. Next thing I did was I added another step of reducing the low end, and I added a little bit of compression in the 130 to 1000 kilohertz range, as well as the 1000 kilohertz range to the 4000 kilohertz range, and a lot of compression to the 4000 range above. Remember, the multi-band compressor allows me to compress different frequency ranges at a time, and it lets me do it at different ranges. So what I did was I just completely took off a ton of the low end because I didn't want any low end on that thing because I don't want it to compete with my kick and my 808. Then when it came to This range right here, this low mid, I compressed it a bit because I didn't like the punchiness of those keys, the nan, 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 nan. So I wanted to control those a little bit and smooth it out because I don't want any other transient thing cutting through if it's not really the drums or the vocal. So I just wanted to calm that down a little bit and tone it down. So I did with this. Then the same thing up here. I added a little bit of compression. It was bothering me. It was a little bit jarring to my ear because that shrilly, creepy sound, sometimes it got a little bright because the frequency, I can tell in playing that the frequency actually moves. So I brought that down a little bit, and that's what I did for that top end. So before and after. Before. Cool. So it just gave it a little bit more control. It just kind of slowed down, or better yet, it chopped off a lot of that shrill sound that you heard in the top end that was kind of moving. I wanted to control that a little bit, and it gave me the control, as well as the low mid with the punchiness of the keys. It brought that down as well. So that's what I did right there. Next thing I wanted to do is, which is my secret, is I added this vibe phaser. Now all this is a phaser. I'm sure if you're using any DAW, you have a phaser. So I like to use this phaser on ambient sounds because I like it to add movement to my sound. So that's basically what I did here, is I put this vibe phaser on there just to give me some movement to my sound. So I'll show you before and after. Before. And I love this phaser. Reason why? There is minimal buttons on this phaser. It's literally volume, depth, chorus, and a sync. 4 buttons, easy to manage. You can put it to taste. I had a depth of 5, a volume of 10, and a sync of 4, and a chorus on this one. Reason why I don't go much into exact settings is because every song is different, and there's no way I can give you a group of settings that are the same for every song, but I can give you an idea of how I went about it, and then you can make your own general idea. But if you want to use the settings, they're there. You can screenshot it. It's beautiful, the world we live in. Okay, next thing, we're going to move on over to this pad. Now with this pad, I did absolutely nothing. I like the sound of it. It already had the movement, so I left it alone. And that's the beauty of mixing, knowing when to attack certain things and knowing when to just say, that sounds fine. And that's what you need to do sometimes. Sometimes things just sound fine and you need to back away. So I'll let you hear this pad right quick. Here it is. Love that pad. It's literally moving. I love it. I had no changes that I had for it. It's not playing within the kick and the bass, the kick and the snare parts or anything like that. So I left it on its own. It sounded nice and full in the beginning, so I left it as it is. So that's my pad. Next thing we'll go along to is the only other instrument that's here, and that is my plucks. And basically with the plucks, this is pretty much the main instrument. I'll play it for you raw so you can just take a listen to it. Listen. Cool. Plucks. These plucks are pretty much my main thriving force of this entire song. So what I want those to sound like for me personally in this song, I want it to sound larger than life. I want it to be literally the house. I want it to be the bed where everything lives and it surrounds the entire sound. So I'm going to try that. So the way I accomplish that is, first I'm going to do is, I'm going to roll off a lot of the low end. And basically I'm rolling off the low end at about 66 hertz. So it doesn't compete with my kick and my bass or my 808, as you know. And then I'm rolling off a lot of the high end as well. And I'm rolling off a lot of the high end at about 1700 hertz. Reason why is because for this particular song, I wanted my vocal to be the brightest thing in the mix. So I didn't want it to compete with the vocal at all. So I liked where I had it when I rolled off these two frequency ranges and just had it sitting in this one spot where it actually sounds a lot warmer and fuller to me. So listen to it with and without. So that's how that sounds, and I like it. It feels more closed in. It feels like it's it's sitting better. It feels warmer. It feels like a bed to me. So I like how that was. I rolled off the top end, rolled off some of the bottom, and let it sit just in that frequency range completely. Next thing I did was probably the most important thing to make this sound like the big house. I add this stereo widening plugin called Vitamin, which I adore. Once again, you can use any stereo widening plugin, that'll work fine for you. I use this one because it allows me to attack different a lot of bands at once, or in different time, or in different positions. So basically, you see right here, 9300 hertz and above, I'm attacking like this. I'm bringing up the widener a lot. I'm widening this a lot. Then you'll see from the 2500 to the 9300 range, I'm widening just a little bit less than I did on the top. Then from the 500 to the 2500, I'm widening a little bit, which is the middle of the frequency range. Then on that 122 to 500, widen just a little bit there. And then on this 122 down to the bottom, I'm actually decreasing the stereo field, because remember, we like our bass and our 808 sounds or low end sounds to be mono. We don't want those muddying up our sides. So I mono those low end sounds on anything I use. I like to mono my low end. So that's basically what I did. So I'll do it before and after. So before. So you can hear my high end even sounds punchier because it's way more pushed to the stereo field as far as widening. And then the low end is sitting right in the middle, which I love, because now I can feel the space. I can hear the low end of the sound sitting in the middle, and then I can hear the high end of the sound pretty much being pushed out this way. So it adds this nice wall in sound that I just adore. Next thing I add is I wanted to attack the of the transients of the plucks a little bit. I wanted to kind of tame that a bit, kind of like what I did with the other sound. And basically, you see it right here in the 130 to 1000 kilohertz range. What I did was I just added a little bit of compression with the multiband compressor just to tame those peaks. So before. Cool, so it just tamed the transient of that bottom end. I didn't want that to cut through too much, because once again, I feel like it would bother my kick, and it was bothering my kick, and that's why I kind of tamed it a little bit. Last but not least, what I did was I added this bad boy right here, which is my J37 tape, and I used a setting on here called synth. Go figure. And I actually liked the way it sounded. It gave me more of an analog sound to my synth, which the synth is more of a digital sound. So I wanted to add a little bit of warmth and tape saturation to it. So I'll let you hear before and after. Before. I like it. For some reason, it just feels better to me. And that's the beauty of tape and analog saturation. Like I just adore it. It just has a sound to me. It just has a characteristic that I just love, and it makes it feel a lot better for me. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, now that this is all of our instruments, I'm gonna let you hear this thing with everything in, so you can get an idea of where we are in our mix. So let's play it from right here, and I'll let you hear the mix. So this is our mix so far.
Early in the morning to be asking me these questions. I'm just trying to get back to the money. I don't want nobody but you because I'm way too invested. Please don't be alarmed, just buy a text. Yeah, she a friend, not a hoe. Why you going through my phone? Baby, she already know that I'm all you. Why we gotta argue like Katie and LeBron do? I want to ignore you.
Cool, now let's hear Drake's record.
Look who I'm fucking again. I had on ice, but then I watched the ice get thin. Now that she sink or swim.
Ooh, we're getting close. Listen one more time.
Early in the morning to be asking me these questions. I'm just trying to get back to the money. I don't want nobody but you because I'm way too invested. Please don't be alarmed, just buy it.
Yes. So you can hear it. We're getting closer. And that's the beauty of reference mixing. I'm constantly going back and forth, listening to his mix as well as mine and combating that. Now, obviously his is fully mixed and mastered. Ours is just mixed. We're trying to get it to that level, and I'll show you that in mastering. So in the next video, I'll show you the next step. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and head on over to the next video and see how this process just pretty much continues. Make sure you follow us at Help Me Devvon, and let me know what you guys think. It's your boy Devvon Terrell. Head on over to the next video.